Hey everybody, this is Milesluigi welcoming you to Digressing Mario Kart 8, where this isn't going to be any more first impressions. Okay, here's Mario Kart 8. We're actually going to start talking about a little bit more of the advanced topics in Mario Kart 8. Now, I was hoping when I finally got to this that my first topic, would be driving fundamentals, because it kind of sets the base for a lot of the other stuff I want to talk, the mini turbos, super mini turbos, drifting, further techniques going into there, braking, stuff like that, item usage, all the fun stuff, blue cell psychology. But, well, there's kind of a big elephant in the room when it comes to advanced techniques in Mario Kart 8. The big hot topic right now, it's fire hopping. Were you expecting something different? So, before we can get through all of that, let's talk a little bit about fire hopping, shall we? So then that question is, well, what is fire hopping? What do you do it? And, well, what in the world is this big craze over about? Because apparently everyone on the internet decided to explode when it's like, oh my gosh, Mario Kart is an exploit. Well, here I am to show you in extremely slow motion so you guys can really see what fire hopping is. At least to my understanding, this is what fire hopping is, but it seems pretty evident from here. I have a ghost that I'm going to be racing against here, and we're both going to just burn out at the start of this time trial here, and then right afterwards use a mushroom. So took a couple of tries just to make sure we were lined up perfectly, but the ghost is not going to fire hop, and I am. Basically, to fire hop, you hop back and forth. It is actually important to be hopping back and forth, not hopping up and down. And you can it's kind of hard to see the ghost, but you can see I'm very ever so slightly pulling away from my ghost, who's not fire hopping and instead is going straight. Me curving back and forth in the line almost kind of reminds me of like a miniature form of snaking when you really think about it. But that's fire hopping if you guys wanted to know. And before I talk a little bit more about fire hopping, I wanted to prove a thing or two for everyone here. I'm on a bike doing the exact same thing, specifically an inner drifting bike. If you do that with an inner drifting bike, it does absolutely nothing for you. You're completely SOL. However, an outer drifting bike is also still capable of fire hopping. I actually didn't time it all that well on that example there, but that's fire hopping. Basically, you bunny hop back and forth whenever you have a turbo, and you gain a very slight advantage over your opponents. It's ever so slight, but it's what you need to do, and you need to set a world record in this game. Anyway, let's go to some races so I can talk about this some more. So, ultimately, I guess this warrants a couple of questions here right away. First things first, do I need to fire hop to win? I'm going to answer this and flat out say, unless you're playing at the absolute highest levels of this game, no, you don't need a fire hop to win. It's not that much of an issue. If you take a look at world record time trials, yes, obviously, and if you're playing competitively at a really high level league, it's something like that, where basically everyone's just playing with the fastest cart, no items, yeah, you probably want to learn this technique because it will save you time, but it's not that detrimental to online play from my personal experience, nor does it just completely can out the bikes here. I mean, I'm still driving a bike. I like driving these inner drifting bikes, and it's not such a big deal that I'm arms and race. Oh my gosh, Nintendo, you need to fix this. That's actually another decent question. I think everyone might be wondering, is Nintendo going to patch this? I mean, Nintendo's not alien to patching things anymore like they were back in the day of Mario Kart Wii or the Wii days. They, long after the fact, patched Mario Kart 7 because one of the tracks, Maka Woohoo, had a stupidly ridiculous exploit that allowed you to basically skip from lap 1 to lap 3 because it was one of those big, long, linear courses. But the thing is, that was a huge exploit. Fire hopping's not huge. It's there. It's something. It lets you get world records, obviously, and lets you go a little bit faster, and it is something you want to learn if you really want to play at the absolute highest echelon of this game, but I mean, the effects of it are pretty minimal, and I gotta be completely honest, I don't think Nintendo will patch this just because it's a relatively small effect. People are really way overblowing this out of proportion, if you ask me. It's not that big of a deal. In my personal opinion, your skill fundamentally driving is more important. You being able to power slide is more important. You know how to use good items is more important. Fire hopping is just kind of that little icing on the cake that I guess will solidify a good player to a great player. So I guess take it as you will from that entire big digression of fire hopping. It's not going to make me just jump immediately to a cart. I can tell you that. I love driving a bike too damn much. I'm going to continue using a bike primarily. But anyway, here's our race on Mount Wario I had here, and at this exact moment I remember thinking to myself, God damn, I pulled like the worst item possible, except if you notice, all 3 of my shells just hit someone. Me getting 4th, which is a pretty decent place considering the room I'm in, was entirely because I nailed 3 other people there. If I would not have gotten those 3 nails, I would have lost there. Gotta save that one. Hex to the fudge, yeah. But yeah, just to conclude my thoughts on fire hopping, take it from me, it will help. You know, it will help. It is worth learning. Whenever I drive a kart, matter of fact, here, I'm going to go ahead and drive a kart right now with Yoshi with the pipe frame and slick tires. I will do it, obviously, because it will give me an edge. But in my personal opinion, it's not a reason to give up a bike if you like the inner drifting bikes. It's not a reason to blow up on the internet. It's not that good of a technique, to be completely honest, okay? It gets you a little bit ahead, but it's not that extremely super duper absolute amazingness of holy cow. Now right now we are on 3DS Music Park, which on the 3DS I was actually really good on this track, but for I'm just going to admit right now, here on the Wii U, I struggle on this track right now. And the thing is, Mario Kart 7 and 8 are pretty much the same, especially when you drive a kart. So, me struggling on this course might... It ultimately comes down to the fact that I'm not that great at taking turns on this course, although I do get to take this shortcut that people probably aren't aware about, especially if you haven't played the 3DS Mario Kart 7, that drum there. That drum... you need to learn how to approach it. Matter of fact, it took me a long time to learn how to approach that in Mario Kart 7, and now that Mario Kart 8 is out, I need to figure out how to approach that jump with a bike, because I like driving the bikes. But this setup with Yoshi, actually, and the reason why I'm driving as Yoshi instead of Luigi is that it works out pretty decently in terms of top speed, acceleration. Pretty cool, especially since slick tires, higher top speed, lower acceleration. One of the advanced topics we will be talking about in a future Digressing Mario Kart, since I feel like I am going to bring it up a lot, especially when it comes to kart selection, is acceleration tiers. That's probably going to be my next topic, actually, before driving fundamentals, just because I'm going to be talking about it that much. Yeah, Music Part has a lot of tricky turns that I just have not learned how they work similarly to the way they work comparing Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8. The thing is, in Mario Kart 7, this was probably one of my best tracks, actually. So, let's see if that trend actually ends up holding, and if when push comes to shove, I can start really kicking ass on this track. But like, for example, right there, that turn, it's not quite a hairpin turn, but it just completely royally messes me up right now. But a couple of boosting items right at the end is really nice, and let's see if I can take this drum another time. Yes, well, that's not the best drum I've ever taken, but because everyone just wiped out right at the end, I somehow in a race where I spent most of my time in dead last, boosted all the way to 3rd. Haha, way to go. I even beat Yoshi that race. Holy cow. I'm not going to complain. He probably got knocked out at the end there and is really mad about that because he got beat by a Yoshi. And he'll be playing as Yoshi otherwise. Alright, here we go to our final race of the day. This is a really good race, which is why I saved it, playing as Roy. And this is the more quote-unquote optimal setup instead of with Luigi, with a slightly heavier character, in this case Roy, on the spike with slick tires. And I'll get more into that once I can talk a little bit more about some of the game's stats, and especially acceleration tiers. But good race here. While this race is going on, I actually wanted to make one little comment. Since I came primarily from Mario Kart 7, I'm used to racing online with 8 players. At least I was before I started playing this game. In this game, you know, now you have 12 players playing online. And I gotta be completely honest about this. I thought, oh gosh, 12 players, this is gonna be stupidly more chaotic than Mario Kart 7, because Mario Kart 7, you had the 8 players, and 8 players were chaotic. But then you have this game's item distribution system that mellows it out quite a bit. You know, the higher places, or the closer you are to first, the more likely you are to get dumb items or coins or something like that, and the less likely you are to, you know, pull a magical item. It's kind of interesting. This feels less chaotic than Mario Kart 7, even on frantic mode. Warioshi and I have been playing quite often in frantic mode. Instead of just joining an online race, you go to a custom race and specifically select frantic items. A couple of advantages that does is A, it lowers the number of coins that are in a race, and B, it throws items more into a variable in a race than what would normally be the case. And I actually like frantic mode more than the regular mode. If for nothing else, the more chaotic items does a little bit better job balancing out the game, especially with the huge top speed difference that exists in this game. And it brings that semblance of the only real way I can describe this is use the terminology uncertainty. Okay, the idea that I could be racing against the top tier MLG Mario Kart player out there, but theoretically, just because Mario Kart is a chaotic game, I could end up, winning with decent item use, driving really good. That's, of course, the most important part, driving really good, and, well, ultimately seeing what items get pulled. And I know some of you may think, well, if I play good, I should do good. And overall, yes. Overall, if you play good, you should do good. My record against Warioshi is proof of that. He's beaten me like 160 races to me beating him to like, I think, 40 races is where I think I currently am at. He's damn good at the game, okay? Alright? When he has like 160 wins to my 40 wins, he's a damn good player in this game, okay? But I like that certain degree of uncertainty, even though it can be really frustrating at times. I completely agree with everyone. Getting nailed like 3 times just before the finish line, first by a blue shell, then by some other crazy shit, then being ran over by a star, and then falling from first to last is the worst experience possible in Mario Kart. But you wanna know what? Admittedly, the uncertainty in this game is what makes it fun. Anywho, enough of Roy, even though he is our boy. Let's look at some Luigi Death Stares of the week. See you next week, everyone.